Hey leaders, I wanted to spend just a few minutes with you talking about something that I pray will be helpful to you as we move forward together in leadership here in God's kingdom, in God's church, for God's people, for God's glory. And I personally have had some stuff going on recently where I'm just tired a lot. And I know that happens in life, especially with what a lot of us do, especially with what I do. There's always something going on here in the church. What's made it more complicated recently is I got some personal stuff going on as well. And so because of that, I found myself tired a lot, just kind of weary, just kind of worn down. And I was thinking about, how to rest and recharge in the midst of that. And in fact, I got in a conversation with another one of our staff pastors here this last week, and he brought up the kind of the same situation that he's going through, just kind of feeling weary and worn down, and kind of asking that question: How do I find rest? How do I recharge? How do I live a life that's sustainable? Right? Because we're not just in this thing prayerfully for a week or a month or even a year. Hopefully, we're in this thing for the long run. And so we want to live a life that's not just measured in days. We want to live a life that's measured in decades. And we want our leadership to be measured the same way. We want to be able to go the distance. So how do we do that? How do we last? And I was thinking back to truly one of the first conversations I got in with another staff pastor when I first came on staff years ago. And it was a guy who was further along in the ministry than me. And he actually told me, he said, Johnson, here's what you need to understand moving forward if you're going to last in this thing, if your body's going to last, if you're going to emotionally last, if you're not going to burn out. So many people burn out. And he said this, he said, you have to understand that we are spirit, soul, and body, right? You've probably heard that before, that we are spirit, soul, and body, that we are a spirit, we have a soul, and we live in a body. And our soul, that's kind of a tricky word. Our soul is our mind, our will, and our emotions. And so it's how you think. It's your brain. It's your emotional side of you. You are a spirit, right? That's the part of us that lives forever. That's the part that gets born again when Jesus comes into our lives. We are a spirit. We have emotions and a mind and a will, and we live in this, right? We live in a body. And he was saying this, that if you are a spirit, you have a soul and you live in a body, your spirit, soul, and body, then you have to learn how to rest spirit, soul, and body. Does that make sense? That if we are spirit, soul, and body, then spirit, soul, and body can get tired. And spirit, soul, and body need to learn how to rest, find rest for each one of those. And so part of the problem, I think, many times in us learning to find rest is that we misidentify, or we're not even aware that maybe there's more than one type of being tired, right? And so maybe that's the idea, is that if you've been doing a lot of physical work, then you're probably physically tired, that your body's tired. If you've been dealing with people problems, if you've been having stress at work, if maybe you've been doing emotionally exhausting things, maybe you got family drama going on, then it's probably your soul is tired. All right. And maybe you've been doing counseling. Maybe you had spiritual warfare stuff going on. Maybe you've been doing a lot of small group things, or pouring yourself out some way spiritually. Then probably you're spiritually tired. Right? So spirit, soul, and body, and each one of those can get tired. And now here's the big idea, is that each one of those has to find its own way to rest. And so here's what I'd say is, this is the one we know of, but if your body's tired, you probably need to sleep. Right? Or maybe you're not getting enough sleep. Maybe you're not getting good sleep. Maybe if you're physically tired, this is the time just to crash on the couch and just kick your shoes off and just chill for a little bit. But here's the other side. Maybe if your soul is tired, maybe you need to take a mental health break. Maybe you need to get on the treadmill and go run or work out. Just get outside, do some gardening, take a walk, watch some TV, even whatever that is, just to disconnect, just to kind of give your soul, remember, your mind, your will, your emotions, a chance to breathe, just a little break. Now here's the deal. If your spirit is tired, that's your time to reconnect with Jesus, right? There's always a good time to reconnect with Jesus, but especially if your spirit is tired. And I was thinking about this in John chapter 4, verse 31, Jesus says this. He says, this is the very famous, the time when he was with the woman at the well. And the woman, he has this interaction with her. The woman goes back, and then his disciples come, and they're trying to give him some food here in verse 31. Meanwhile, his disciples urged him, Rabbi, eat something. But he said to them, I have food to eat that you know nothing about. And they're thinking to themselves, they say, could someone have brought him food, right? They're thinking like, what, did somebody bring Jesus a Big Mac while we were gone? Like he's just been here at the well. We went to go get food. We brought it back. He said he's already eaten. And then he says this in verse 34. He says, my food is to do the will of him who sent me and to finish his work. In other words, he didn't say that his food was bread, right? Because man can't live on bread alone. Man lives on the things of God. And so he's saying, here's how my spirit gets replenished is by doing the work of Jesus. And so if his food isn't just physical food, it's spiritual food, then listen, your spirit, when your spirit's tired, your spirit needs spirit rest. And so the way you rest, the way you recharge in your spirit is by opening up the Bible, right? Is by praying, is by having Jesus conversations with other people. That's one of the best ways that my spirit gets recharged is when I sit down with a group of guys and just talk about the things of the Lord. I love it. I come alive on the inside. I may have walked in there really weary and tired and saying, I don't want to do this. But after I leave the time of conversation, I'm alive. And so I'm telling you guys, here's the really tricky thing. Here's the big idea is that you are spirit, soul, and body, and you have to learn how to rest spirit, soul, and body. But here's the problem. Lots of times when our spirit is tired, we try and give rest to our body. Right? When our emotions are tired, we may try and give rest to our spirit. And so here's the thought. You can't sleep away soul tired. You can't pray away body tired. Right? You can't watch TV and think that you're going to give rest to your spirit. And this is why many times you'll feel tired and we misdiagnose it and we say, oh, I'm just tired. I just need some sleep. And we go to sleep and we wake up just as tired, right? And we're like, oh, what's the deal? I just need more sleep. And we go back to sleep and we wake up and we're just as tired. And we walk around and we're just tired. We're like, what's the problem? Why am I just not getting enough sleep? No, you're not praying. Right? No, your body's not what's run down. Maybe your emotions are what's run down, and you actually need to get up and you need to go work out. But you're misdiagnosing it as body tired, so you're just trying to sleep. But you don't need more sleep. You actually need to go and do something. Does that make sense? Maybe sometimes I need to pray and I need to go and meet with the Lord. But I'm going to say, oh, I'm just tired after a long day. I'm just going to turn on the TV, and we give our soul, our minds some break, but that's not really what we need. We need to meet with the Lord, and that's what our spirit's crying out for, but we just turn on the TV. And so here's my real encouragement is that we need to ask the Holy Spirit to help us to identify what part of us is really tired, spirit, soul, and body. And I believe that as we get more into the practice of doing this, the better at it we'll get, that you'll learn sometimes you just need to sleep. Sometimes you may just need to flip on the TV for 10 minutes. You may need to get outside and take a walk. You may need to do some gardening. Sometimes, and many times, you need to crack open the scriptures, the Word of God, and meet with the Lord and allow Him to replenish your life. And I think that's going to be super helpful for us. I think that one of the big other pieces to this is called the Sabbath. Right? We talk about this, and I have a strong conviction about this, that the Sabbath is really the only one of the 10 commandments we think we don't need to keep anymore. Really, it's the only one. And I'm not being legalistic about a day, but I think there is still benefit to taking a Sabbath, finding a day where you don't work. And finding out really for you what work is. I'm not just talking about, the Jews distorted it saying we're not going to take X amount of steps a day. I'm not talking about that. I'm just saying what for you is work. Sometimes on my Sabbath, I'll go work out because that's not work for me. Sometimes that's rest for me because it's not my body that's tired. Like my body, wants to exert. Maybe my soul's tired, so I need to go and work out. Does that make sense? And so what I found out with the Sabbath is this, and I'll leave you with this, is that the Sabbath, here's the best, all the Jewish books I've read on the Sabbath, this is the best explanation of the Sabbath. There's three ways of understanding the Sabbath, three ways of thinking about the Sabbath. On the Sabbath, rest um, from work, right? That's the first level. The second level of Sabbath is rest from even the thought of work, right? I think that's many times why some of us are tired. Maybe we say, I only work Monday through Friday, but Saturday and Sunday, you're thinking about your work. You're not actually off, you're still on. Maybe you're checking email, those sorts of things. No, you need to actually Sabbath. Rest not just from work, rest from even the thought of work. And that takes discipline, but you can do it. And the third level, I think the greatest level, is rest as if all your work was done. Rest from work, rest from even the thought of work, and rest as if all your work was done. Rest, let each Sabbath, let that one day a week be like it was the first day of your retirement. As if I'm not thinking about it. And it's not even I'm just kind of trying to block it out. It's as if there is no work to do. Let my heart, let my mind, my will, my emotions, my body, my spirit rest like God rested on the seventh day. He said it was good, and so he took that day off. Now God is still moving, God is still working, God is still doing, but let me tell you, on that seventh day, he rested as if all his work was done. And I'm telling you guys, if we can do this, if we can start to diagnose spirit, soul, body, tired, which one it actually is, and give it the right type of rest. And then we can just bring the Sabbath right on top of that as an overarching covering over that. I'm going to tell you guys, the ministry that we have, the life that we live, it's not going to be measured in days. It's going to be measured in decades. And so I encourage you, let's find health. Let's find rest. Let's go to Jesus in the scriptures. Let our body rest. Let our soul rest. And let our spirit rest in Jesus. Amen. God bless you guys. Let's keep leading the flock of Jesus closer to the kingdom. Amen.